ready. Right, we are live now, technically, Rosie, so don't swear, don't do anything sudden or rash or uncouth.
That usually happens. I usually slip up a couple of times with my language, but
Rosie is mouth like a docker, as they used to say. Well, welcome to today's Tuesday tune-in. Very special episode here because we've upgraded Andy to Rosie, and we've upgraded you lot to Lehara, but they're still here.
Yeah.
So if you are live and you're with us today, then do drop in with the comments. I've got us on the live. Davey Squire, how's it going, mate? Welcome. Angus Ross, he's always one of the top 5 to join in terms of how quick he is and punctual. First of the summit, I reckon he'd be. Awesome. So I'll give it a couple more seconds just to get some chats in because they're always a little bit delayed. Simon Harwood, how's it going? I've got a cup of tea today. This doesn't normally make me a cup of tea.
These are my Cliff merch.
So first thing I'm going to do is, obviously you're going to spot a third member of today's Tuesday tune-in. So I'm going to introduce Lisa. Many of you would have seen on our social media, and if you've already been to Nepal, that we've hooked up with Lehara, an awesome charity that does a lot of good work in the Khumbu. And we brought Lisa on to sort of talk about that today, why it's important, why Evertrek cares about that, and what we can all kind of do together to kind of further the cause. Because I think once you see what they're doing and appreciate what they're doing, you'll realize that it's a benefit for sort of everyone. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Excellent. I think the first things people might want to know is a little bit about your background as well, because you've been to the Everest region before.
I have, yes.
Yes, you've been quite high in the Everest region before.
A couple of hikes, yeah. I first visited the Khumbu region in 2019, where I did a 3-peak trek or climb. So climbed Lubuche, Island Peak and Bakaldi during a 5-week expedition. And it's safe to say that 5 weeks meant that I completely fell in love with not only the mountains, but mainly the people and the communities that they've built there. So it was a definite love from the first few days that I was there. And I ended up going back again a couple of times since, one for sort of Lehara setup, but also I actually climbed Everest last year. So that was my 4th time of going to that region.
Amazing.
Which is so cool.
So it's weird because I've been there at least 7 times and I've never gone to the summit.
Weird.
Which I think is probably why I'm still here, because I'm definitely, judging by my display on the Stairmaster last night, there's 15 minutes on the Stairmaster, and I think you would have seen me looking like I just summited.
There's always time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's amazing. Guys, so we can see here we've got Jerome as well. Darren Shadbolt is on. Any questions for Lisa? Her experience in the mountains, that would be amazing. But really, what I think we want to talk about is how we hooked up, which is Lehara, which is sort of your initiative, your baby. So tell us a little bit about Lehara and the history of that, because we think it's amazing, don't we?
We love it, and we can't stop talking about it over here. And I know that when we've kind of pushed out on socials, that you guys are all super excited to kind of get your massage out there. So do you want to fire away, Lisa, and give a bit of an overview?
Yeah, of course. So a couple of years ago, I was listening to a podcast, and it was all about sustainable giving. So rather than just giving money to different organizations and charities, instead, you should try and give some wealth, but also give some wisdom and work towards the initiative. So they labeled it the 3 W's of sustainable giving. And I remember listening to this podcast and thought, actually, those sort of principles are so simple, but are so effective. And could this be applied to my area of expertise? So I'm a physiotherapist back in England. I've spent a lot of time mobilising new services for the NHS in the community. And I thought, well, what if we just go out to a region, a rural high altitude region, and train up locals in how to do sports massage, give them all the tools that they need in order to be able to earn a really good living and a safe living. And then they can go and provide for their own families and wider communities. And this idea developed over the course of maybe 4 or 5 months. And the only region that I could ever have imagined it happening in was the Khumbu in Nepal, so in the foothills of the Everest region. Mainly because it had been the previous year that I'd gone there for the first time and fell in love with the area. But also from a practicality perspective, obviously it's a very popular area for trekkers. So if you're going to set up a sports massage service that's going to benefit the community, you need a decent amount of footfall. So it seemed like a very obvious and sensible place to set it up. So initially it was going to be very simple. It was going to be teach the locals some skills and then give them the tools and off they go. But over the sort of following 2 years, it developed quite a lot into more of a community run initiative. So I think the main thing that I found that everybody's got very excited about with Lehara is not only you've got locals who are skilled and doing a really good job, but it's those locals that actually generate money and revenue that then goes into a community pot. And that community pot can then be accessed through financial grants for any organisation across the region, across the Khumbu Valley. So it really is that positive ripple effect that we've created, and that's where the name Lehara came from. So Lehara means ripple locally, and we wanted a name that really reflected that positive ripple effect.
Amazing. So did you have the idea, so Lehara, was that conceived before you summited Everest?
Yes. Yeah. Sort of, we're talking sort of 2021 when it first started, and I summited in 2023.
Oh, amazing.
Very good.
Amazing.
I love that knock-on effect though, and I think that's what really makes Lehara stand out is that it's so sustainable, and it's so it just makes it so special, doesn't it, to trekkers passing through, that not only are they getting a massage, but they're really having a big impact on that knock-on effect to really help improve, like, you know, the quality of life and help, you know, the local area so much. Yeah,
I think it's a perfect fit as well, isn't it? You couldn't have picked a better place, a better market, and a better people to kind of work with. And one of the things that I think is amazing is when we first hooked up, you said, you know, it was about making sure that they can kind of stay home, you know, rather than be driven from the Khumbu to the cities and things to do sort of what would essentially be some sort of service-based labor, probably, you know, like in you know, and now they're able to actually, you know, not just, you know, go and provide services, but learn a skill, provide a service, and stay home. You know, if they don't want to leave their communities and their families and their friends and their life behind, which a lot of, you know, people do have to do, they can stay there. And that's what I love, because I think that only ever enriches the community. You know, it keeps the money in the community, because as soon as you start leaving, you know, and you work in Kathmandu or something in a hotel, then obviously there's a cost of living that associated with that. So not a lot of it will then ripple back, I suppose, to the Khumbu. So yeah, that's what I really loved about it, because it's I don't know, it kind of feels like, you know, it's how things were meant to be, you know, that they can benefit from this tourism in a way that truly benefits them, and by learning a skill, so everybody gets the same sort of advantages out of this industry.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So you go on.
Sorry, Rosie. I think that's one of the key things that we found as actually Lehara's developed. So the 6 therapists that currently work for Lehara are all women. They age between 24 now and 40. And of those 6, 4 of them have children. And what we have managed to provide is that when those individuals are actually working in clinic, their kids come along. So it's easy from a childcare perspective. A lot of them, it is a hike from where they live to where the clinics are. So they come along and do a 4-day, 5-day, 6-day stint, earn a decent wage, and then they go home and they can be with their kids and with their families for the next week, 10 days, and then come back again and do another stint of work. So it definitely fits in well with their own sort of family life and wanting to stay local. And as you said, Dave, there's the benefit of this is that the tourism and all the money generated by tourism locally is going straight to the locals. There is no, I'm volunteer, all of the other people that work for Lehara that don't live in Nepal and aren't Nepalese or Sherpa, we're all volunteers. We're not linked to any Western agency. So really can say that every single rupee or dollar does stay very much local in that valley and benefits the locals, which I think is a big buzzword at the moment around responsible tourism and sustainable tourism, that it's key to make sure that that money is going to the right places.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the things that often pops up when you look at people that just operate on the traditional sort of charity model of just sending money to a place where, I mean, the truth is as well that when you send it to often like a third world, very poor country, it's very difficult sometimes to actually make sure that the money goes to the correct, you know, it has to go through certain channels of government perhaps. And, you know, and I think that you want them to get the full impact. And that's why I think providing the training and giving them the ability to actually earn a living from a ready supply of growing sort of customers, it's amazing, you know, and also that community aspect of it where, you know, other people then through this initiative are able to kind of access grants and things like that. So you can kind of see that it's going to be exponential, I think. And some of the feedback that we've had as well from the Evertrekkers that have gone there is that it's amazing, is that it's massively needed and warranted, you know, and it was actually something that was kind of relatively missing from the service and from Namche. I mean, there are places in Namche you could go, but, you know, who knows about them and who's running them and stuff like that. And now this is actually perfect, you know, it's everything that I think we want Evertrekkers to kind of strive for, because we've always had the same mindset of, you know, that we only want to employ Nepalese people and you know, from the drivers to the hotel staff to the guides, the porters, and this sort of fits perfectly, I think, with that model, you know, that all the money and the effort goes directly to the people that are providing the service. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's all about being a sustainable traveller, and I think those two things haven't always kind of gone hand in hand, and I think that's what is the difference with Lehara, is really taking strides forward in just giving back and being sustainable and being a conscious traveller and respecting the people and the communities where you are travelling to.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key things that was very much at the forefront when we first designed Lehara and came up with the idea was, yes, it's about giving back, but these individuals have got the best work ethic I've ever seen. They are such hard workers. They're so motivated. They're lovely human beings. They just need a bit of knowledge from the skill perspective, and then they've all just run with it. They've picked up the technique so quickly. They're constantly asking, can I work extra days? Can I work extra days? They are really sort of just passionate and motivated. And I think empowerment has always been the fundamental principle of Lehara. They just needed a bit of empowerment, and now they've gone with it. And I think long term for Lehara, we're setting up a structure where it's going to be completely run by the locals, owned by the locals. They can decide and are already deciding where will that community investment fund will go to benefit their own communities, and they will then make a success out of it. And I think that empowerment for the 6 therapists that are working has been so powerful, because they know when they turn up to work, yes, they go home with a really good salary for themselves and their family, but they also contribute into that investment fund by the sessions that they provide. So yeah, it's definitely a sort of circular model that seems to working really well.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Jerome has asked, and I don't know whether he's been following you for a while, but did you do your training in sports massage at Loughborough University by any chance?
No. So I'm a physiotherapist, and I trained at Birmingham. So don't know if it's, you know, right to say Loughborough scum on here.
Yeah.
Rivalry between Birmingham and Loughborough.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, awesome.
So I'm a physiotherapist, but I did a lot of manual therapy as a postgrad. But our sports massage course was actually run by a tutor from the London School of Massage, Zach.
Yeah.
who has many years of experience of teaching sports massage, mainly in London. I think he's over in Wales now, but also he's worked in other countries, Singapore, India. So he's used to sort of designing specific syllabuses for specific markets. So we were incredibly lucky to have him on the team. And we had another sports massage therapist that came along. So Zach's there in the centre with the red trousers, and Paul to Zach's left, our right, is a very experienced massage therapist. So the two of them specifically designed the syllabus for us, and obviously taught it during the 3-week course or 2.5-week course. And Stu, the other guy that's at the bottom there, he's a fellow physiotherapist alongside myself. So we had a really good 4-strong training team.
Yeah, awesome.
Wicked. We have had some questions here, so I'm just gonna fire them at you. A couple of questions about kind of booking process and how they can book on. So do you want to just run through that?
Yeah, of course. So we've got some exciting developments happening for this season. So we've been lucky enough to secure an online booking platform, which will hopefully be going live next month, where you'll be able to go onto our website, so www.lehara.org, and there will be a booking link where you can physically book and choose the appointment of your choice on the day of your choice, and pay for the session there and then. There is also an opportunity to come along when you arrive in Namche and come and see me. So I try and make sure that I come and welcome every Evertrek group as you arrive in your lodge in Namche, and you can book a session through me during those times. Otherwise, again, on our website, you've got all the information as to where the clinics are in both Namche and Dingboche. So the two sort of acclimatization spots during your typical base camp trek. And you can rock up to either of those lodges and ask to book into a Lehara session. You'll be able to book that way as well.
Awesome. Jerome's also asked, are there any cultural difficulties around women giving massages to trekkers that we should be aware of? Is there anything that kind of trekkers should have in mind?
I imagine ideally a shower first, I reckon, given where they've just come from. But yeah, my understanding, it is a professional sports massage, right? So
yes. So the cultural differences are definitely there, and I think we spent a lot of time focusing on that as part of the training course. So the training course, of course, we went through practical skills, we went through theory, anatomy, but we also spent time on getting the therapists used to practicing on each other and going through a session, making people feel comfortable when it comes to taking off clothing. It is a sports massage, so yes, there are areas of the body that they need to be able to access to be able to give that full body sports massage. But we wanted to make sure that every single client, every single trekker that came into the clinic was treated with dignity and respect, exactly like you would expect if you were having a sports massage in this country. So spent a lot of work with the therapists around that. They said themselves that it was very awkward, and we could see that in the first few days of training, taking their own clothes off so that they could be practiced on. But I think going through that experience themselves has then enabled them to have almost more understanding that when they're treating their own clients, what that client might be going through when it comes to undressing. So I think it worked really well. From a cultural perspective, there wasn't a big issue around a female therapist treating a male trekker. We looked into that before we set up Lehara, because obviously it needs to be appropriate in the local culture. We can't just impose something on them. So we had a lot of conversations with locals when we were doing our initial sort of scoping exercises, and there wasn't that issue at all.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great. I'll be honest, I also do feel a little bit awkward when I have to get like undressed for a massage, because there is an assortment of rather embarrassing tattoos sort of all over. Like, it's not just the ones you can see, there are other ones that have caused a masseuse to burst out laughing. You know, it's less relaxing then, isn't it? You know, like that was in a posh spa in Kathmandu, and I was lying there just relaxing, listening to this learning. All of a sudden, I could hear her giggling, and yeah.
So Dave, you're coming out to Namche, aren't you, this season? So I
am, yeah.
The therapist,
they
can all huddle round and laugh.
I would pre-warn them that there's some less than, some really poor decisions made in my youth that I can't get rid of. Yeah, but so that is it is a problem as well. I often don't wear shorts when I'm trekking. Because there's some stupidity on show that people are like, what's going on here? And I'm like, I can't give you an answer. Yeah, can you show us, Dave? Absolutely not, Jerome. Absolutely not. You are gonna not on the Tuesday tune-in.
It's best.
Post watershed, maybe. John from Brecon has asked. So he wants to know a little bit more about your actual summit of Everest, and kind of what it was like for you to reach the summit.
It was incredible. It was 6 years in the making, 6 years of training, of doing various different other peaks and different technical courses, and obviously a lot of fitness. So it was, for me, a huge relief to get there, because obviously nothing is guaranteed. It was also, when I reached the summit, when I first saw the summit and realized that I was going to make it, it was an incredible feeling. Definitely had to hold back some tears just to make sure that I could still see properly and keep moving. Yeah. But actually getting to the summit wasn't the huge sense of achievement that I thought it was going to be, because my immediate thought was, I'm halfway and I need to get back down this mountain, and actually the hardest half is still to come. So there was very much a focus of, I need to get off, and I want everybody in my team and around me to also make it off safely. So it was an amazing day. We got incredibly lucky with the weather. The wind had reduced from previous days when other people were summiting. It wasn't as cold as it had been, and I didn't queue once. So I had a clear line in front of me for pretty much the entire summit day. So very, very lucky.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's funny. We had another Everest Summiter. I think we're doing really well, actually. That every Everest Summiter we've had on here has been a girl, been a female. So power to them. Yeah. And Tori James, she was the first Welsh Welsh female to reach the summit. And we've got to hook you guys up as well, because I think she wants to do a lot more, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And, she's great. And she said the same thing when she came on. It was asked about it, and she said, you in your mind, in all the training, you envisage this triumphant moment of sort of reaching the summit, but it's not the same as crossing the finishing line of a marathon.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like you cross the finish line of a marathon, you get the medal, and then you've got to run back to the start. So it's like, she said it was very, very much that sort of thing.
Yes, she was super interesting to talk to, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She's done some really cool stuff.
John's followed up with another question based on something you said. He said, what were the sort of build-up peaks that you summited before you got to the Everest?
So the first peak I climbed was Kilimanjaro. Yeah. Then I did Mont Blanc. Then to Nepal to do Island Peak, Le Rocher and Picardie. The Eiger and the Matterhorn. And I went to Kyrgyzstan just before I went to Everest and climbed Peak Lenin in Kyrgyzstan. So that's above 7,000 meters.
Yeah.
So I did quite a few different peaks, always trying to obviously increase in altitude and height, but also to try and increase in the technical requirements. So the last two peaks, I tried to climb two, I only managed one. In Kyrgyzstan, it was all fixed line rope work, technical at certain points, carrying all your own gear. So for me, it was a bigger achievement than maybe Everest was going to be from a technical perspective, to sort of a bit of a looker, I guess, before going really, really high, which obviously is Everest.
Yeah, that's one of the Sherpas. He does a lot of our sort of 6,000 meter peaks for us in Nepal. He works Lenin in the off season. Yeah. And he's often when I've met him, Nawang, he's often said about sort of going out there and doing it, but he does say it's no joke, because he works, absolutely no joke.
Right, I'm just going to go through a couple more questions that are about Lehara. Jerome's also asked, what are the products needed for massages sourced locally to help the local economy, like with green credentials and stuff like that?
So all of our clinics, obviously, are local lodges. So 2 clinics we run. So we pay monthly rent to the lodge owners, which obviously goes back into the community. From a plinth perspective, we did a lot of research when we were out in Kathmandu prior to Lehara going live. We did end up choosing to use plinths from this country, which was a big decision for us because we ideally wanted a source from Kathmandu for multiple reasons. But the build quality wasn't what we wanted, and safety is paramount for us for obvious reasons. So we have had to bring plinths over from the UK. Things like towels and marketing materials, all those sort of things, we've got all of that coming from Kathmandu. And then our massage oil, we have sourced from both Kathmandu and also from this country. So we've got both happening at the moment. The oil in Kathmandu is actually incredibly expensive, a lot more expensive than from England. So we have sort of made the choice to do a bit of a mixture, because ultimately any money we're spending on consumables is money that can't go into the community investment fund. So we have to be very careful about how we spend money.
Yeah. And in terms of like long-term plans, obviously Lehara, is proven, just in its first season alone, that it's been so successful. I'll let you I know you've got some kind of stats about that, but do you have plans to kind of expand to any other locations, whether that be in Nepal or, other kind of popular trekking destinations like Tanzania?
Yes, definitely. So I think Lehara, Namche and Dingboche will always be our flagship, I guess, because that's where we've started.
Yeah.
But yes, we are a very ambitious team. And when I say team, I do mean the therapists on the ground as well. Our first season went way better than we could ever have hoped for. We had great feedback from trekkers, both in terms of the initiative, but also then post their massage in terms of how great it felt and how it felt that they sort of improved their flexibility and recovery. And a lot of different trekking companies have also shown interest in Lehara and the responsible tourism side of what we're offering. I think one of the big things that we want to do moving forwards now, because it's established, we've got really good team on the ground providing those sessions and 2 really good clinics, that we do want to see how we can expand this, because if we can benefit other communities in a sustainable way, then why not? What we're looking to do is actually, rather than have an England-based training team go out there, have maybe 1 teacher from England go out there, but our current therapists, they will then get involved, and they've already shown an interest to do so. They will then get involved to be part of that future training team to train up other individuals. So I think our next area that we'd really like to get involved in is obviously the Annapurna region. So a place called Manang over in the Annapurna region. So we can provide sessions to trekkers, obviously, during that circuit, and also Annapurna Base Camp. And actually, that particular region, from a community investment fund, is probably in need more so of that money than potentially the Khumbu region. The Khumbu region gets a lot of funding from a lot of different international and local charities because of Everest and because of all of the hype and publicity that it has. Whereas over in the Annapurna region, they get a lot less. And so actually the benefit that we could have over there, that positive ripple effect, could be huge. And then, longer term, it makes complete sense to think if we can replicate this in Tanzania for the Kilimanjaro sort of trekking industry.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the relationships that we are currently building with trekking companies like yourselves would potentially be transferable to some of those other regions. And we would hope that, again, we can use some of our therapists that by then they might be 18 months, 2 years qualified. They can still be part of that training team, and they then get the opportunity to travel and go elsewhere.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Imagine that, you know, that you through.
I know Jodie and Zach would have been appreciative of Lehara being when they did Killy, because they had some issue. Jodie was suffering with her knee.
Yeah, she's got a cartilage issue in her knee, and I think on day one she kind of went. So we had to do the best we could with the expertise we had to try and get the massage on there. But that'd be amazing, though. I think imagine that if you really were just a young girl from the Khumbu that kind of got training through a charity, and then before you knew it was like traveling to Tanzania, this whole other world, to kind of train other people in another country in the same situation. That'd be amazing. Yeah, because it is funny, like it's how a lot of these places that we like to go trekking, they all largely similar in terms of like economy and social and economic problems that they all kind of experience. Where we've actually started hiring sort of female porters. I say started, we ever since we started Killy, we've been doing it, but a lot of companies don't. But because I don't know, there's some stigma, I guess, around sort of the ability. But actually, in Tanzania, if you look at all the stuff that they carry around the markets, it's all the girls are much better at it. So yeah, we've done that, and you know, but that's just one sort of revenue stream that not many people take up in the trekking industry. I think we can build an industry around trekking, like the sports massage and stuff like that. That's where the real difference is made then, because they don't have to go and do these arduous, you know, tasks for, you know, not, and they can earn much more money from doing and actually learning a skill. That's amazing. I saw one comment on here. So Andrew Scott said the oil is expensive, and Heathrow took it all off him when he came back home. So Andrew was starting his own little business, I think, up in Newcastle. Nigel Hawke said, "How big is that cup of tea, Lisa?" So I think it's like, I think that's like a forced perspective, though, you know, just because it's so close to me.
And Andrew Scott also did ask, is the massage service available to the non-trekking porters, especially those carrying huge loads and building materials that, you know, we see every day on the trail?
Yeah, really great question. So when we were first sort of designing the services, we were looking at having obviously the trekking sessions the sessions for trekkers at a set cost, and then a locals price. And the locals price, we would then run a clinic in the morning, potentially, when trekkers are off doing their acclimatization hikes, whereas the porters are resting. So that's what we wanted. And during the last season, we spoke to a lot of porters. We spoke to a lot of trekkers, actually, that also asked their porters if they wanted to have a session. And there was a resounding feeling that we didn't. And when we looked into it a bit more, again, there's the cultural side of it, where we had feedback like they didn't want to have a session because they feared that they would get used to the feeling of having a session, and they wouldn't want to then have to pay for it on a regular basis. So they prefer just to not know what it feels like to have a massage. The main reason that a lot of them said no was they didn't want to take their clothes off. So they didn't want to have to go through that process in order to then have a massage. We have looked into that since, because we do think it's really important that, especially the porters who are carrying a crazy amount of load every single day, and the Sherpas, the high altitude Sherpas as well, that actually we can do some techniques that don't require any clothing to be removed. So you can do really, really effective techniques through clothing. Which is something that we want to do as a secondary course for our therapists, to try and negate that as an issue. Because again, if we can improve some of the livelihoods of those porters and help out their tired bodies with the crazy amount of loads that they carry, then that's something we want to try and invest in.
Yeah, awesome. We've had one comment which might be useful from a customer, Andy Platt, that's traveling out to do Mera in October, and he said he's a physiotherapist And if there's any sort of scholarly literature or books or supplies or anything that you would want him to kind of bring out to help support, he's offering his assistance.
Amazing.
So,
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So Andy, drop us a message or anything. We can see what we can do. Very, very kind of you. Jerome's loving this. Jerome's been to, he was a Gokyo, wasn't he? Gokyo. On a practical note, can you pay for the visa? Can you pay with Visa for the massage, or is it just cash?
Both. So online, you can pay using card, or you can pay in cash. Either or.
Awesome.
And cash, you can pay in US dollars or local.
Yeah, amazing.
Diane's mentioned that she's doing Annapurna base camp, and she's wondering if you guys could come back to Kathmandu.
We've actually had this quite a few times where people have said, "Have you thought about setting up somewhere in Kathmandu?"
Yeah.
For those that have been to Kathmandu, there is a plethora of places already. The market is very much saturated there, and also it would kind of go against what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide opportunities in the valley, local to where people have grown up and where their families are. So yeah, I think at the moment we'll probably leave the Kathmandu trade to the places that are already set up there.
I mean, there's lots of different really good initiatives in Kathmandu if they want to get one there. One is, I think we talked about it, Lisa, didn't we? Was Seeing Hands.
Yeah,
which I think
really
employs people who are blind but train them in massage. So if you're blind and you live in Kathmandu, my God, it must be a horrendous way to kind of, you're not going to be able to find a job or do anything or travel much. But I think that's a really good one. So Diane, look up Seeing Hands. They're really good. But then when you're in Namche, you're going to need another one for sure. Amazing. I just want to have a quick look because we got some stats there. I did bring them up, but it might be good to kind of go through them a little bit because I do think it's really important. I've got loads of other. Here it is as well. Yeah, so I think it's really, really interesting that for people to have a look through this and kind of see the sort of growth that you've had as well. It's amazing.
And I think again, we couldn't have hoped for a better first season. We opened the training school on the 12th. On the 11th of September, none of us knew how many locals were going to turn up to the training school. And so when a whole load turned up, so we had 11 trainees, it was brilliant. And it was obviously great. They were all really keen, really excited. We went through during the 2.5-week course, lots of practical sessions. We went through basic anatomy and theory lessons. We taught them in lots of different ways to try and get over the language barrier. So we had these mini skeletons that we gave them all so they could help learn the different bones and the different joints. We ended up using different nursery rhymes and changed the words to big muscle groups to again
really?
Get different things to stick. We did lots of language as well in terms of certain phrases that they would need. So there's varying different levels of English across the trainees that we had. The course was brilliant. And I think one of the key things was around culture and leadership as well, that we invested time in. So lots of different exercises and drills in order to bring the team together, because all of these individuals were individuals and we wanted to form this really strong, cohesive Lehara team. So the training course went really, really well. And of those 11, 7 trainees passed, and 6 of those that passed have actively worked with Lehara last season, which was great. In terms of number of sessions, so across 6 weeks, so we went live with the 2 clinics from the beginning of October, and we finished mid-November. So we saw a huge number of clients during that time, which was great for the therapists because it meant they could consolidate obviously everything that they'd learned, and also they could see that the profession that they'd chosen to go into and take a risk to go into, because this is the first of its kind, was being well received, and lots of trackers were really valuing what they were offering. So that was great to see. And I think the reason why we all are invested in this so much was that a significant amount of money has now gone into that community investment fund. Then I'm heading back out to Nepal on Thursday. And my focus alongside Kunga, who's our new chairman for the charity, Lehara, the Nepal registered charity. Between the two of us, we're going to be doing a big advertising campaign. So a bit of a roadshow across all the different villages in the Khumbu region in order to advertise how communities and organisations apply for grants so that they can access some money from that $3,000 US that's in the pot at the moment. And that will obviously be contributed to throughout this coming season as well. So we believe that will at least double by the end of this season, because we expect the spring season to be a lot busier than the autumn.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Exciting. Yeah, well, I know, we're going to do everything we can as well. And we've already sort of sent out quite a lot to every Evertracker going out in the spring. So, I mean, I would expect of the Evertrackers like a 98% uptake, is what I'm aiming for. I'm going to give them 2% for the ones that feel a bit nauseous at Namche. But, that's, you're in Namche, you're going to feel a bit nauseous. Just crack on, I reckon. Simon Howard has another mountaineering question for you, Lisa. He says, now you've done Everest and Killy, he's sussed that that's 2 of the 7. Do you have a plan to go for any more?
No, I've done Aconcagua as well. I forgot that one. So that's 3.
Yeah, 3.
But no, there's such a big time and financial commitment to climbing that I feel very lucky with the experiences that I've had to date. So no ambition to climb any other of the 7. And I definitely don't want to go anywhere near another 8,000er. I feel like I used up every ounce of luck on that Everest expedition, so I don't want to push it anymore. I have got an ambition to climb Amadablam. I think just because of the love for the Khumbu Valley, the Amadablam mountain is very beautiful and picturesque, and is the main focus for anybody that's doing that base camp trek. So the thought of being able to have an opportunity to try and climb and summit would be amazing.
Yeah. And actually, depending on your argument, Mont Blanc sometimes is included as one of the 7, because it's whether it's the European sort of landmass or Europe, so but I think mainly it is excluded, but I'm going to give it 4. That's 4. And Rosie's going to name the rest.
No. I might do Kosciuszko in Australia. Well, that still counts as one of the 7.
Yeah.
I did want to just draw all the Evertrackers' attention to the cool article that you kind of wrote for us last week, just about being a conscious traveller, and it really kind of gives a really nice overview to not only Lehara but just a wider scope of how we can be more aware when we're out traveling and things we can do. And a lot of the things you mentioned just about sustainability and just, being aware and, some of the projects that are kind of going on out in Nepal, especially kind of on the trail. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I've had a passion for travel since an early age, and I've been very lucky to have some incredible experiences. But if I ever had to summarize my most valued experiences, it's always been the interactions, sometimes completely unplanned, but interactions with locals and really getting to understand how they live and getting to meet their families and learn from them. And I think that's a big thing that I've found with Lehara, is that I've learned way more from the rest of the Lehara team that's obviously out in Nepal than I think I've taught or the rest of the team have taught them. So I think the benefit you can get from just taking a risk at times and exposing yourself to do things that are slightly different, or get involved, or just having conversations, getting yourself out of your comfort zone and striking up a conversation with a shop owner or a lodge owner or your porters. A lot of the porters, their English is is limited for some of them. Some of them are brilliant at English, and obviously English ends up being that international language that really opens up and gives individuals opportunities to work in tourism. So allowing them and helping them to learn a bit would be huge for them. The feeling you would get back from that interaction and things that you could learn from them as well, I would bet would be some of the most memorable and valued experiences that travellers, that trekkers can have. So I think, just getting out your comfort zone and doing things while you can is definitely a recommendation. The other big initiative that is in that article is Sagarmatha Next. So it's run by a guy called Tommy, who now lives in Namche, just to the north of Namche. And it's all about how we can educate and improve the way that rubbish is either used in a positive way or collected and taken out of the valley. So there's a big sort of, I guess it's a big museum that you can go and have a look at on one of your acclimatization days when you're in Namche and see some of the work that they've been doing. They've got some really cool tech now. You can go and use their VR headset and stand on the summit of Everest, and it's incredibly real. I went and tried it and got goosebumps.
Yeah. You're like, no. I'm done.
But yeah, it's a great initiative. And again, that was just set up by a few people that wanted to try and think differently and do something that was really going to benefit the long term, benefit the region in the long term, which is what's so important at the moment.
Yeah, it's amazing as well. I remember first seeing that the Carry Me Back initiative, I think in April 2019, and I had no idea what it was, because on my way up you can see people coming down with all these little silver bags on them, and I stopped and asked someone about it, and typically I picked a German that didn't speak English, so I asked someone else, and I thought it was amazing. I couldn't believe it at the time, because I was there a little bit before that, and I hadn't seen it at all, and then it was great. And it's just, you literally just, for those people that are going to the Everest region this year, on the way back down, you can go and just clip these like little processed bits of trash, really, but they're in these little like Ziplocs, and you just clip them to yourself, carry them down, and then you can deposit them at Lukla. Such an ingenious and simple way of getting so much of that rubbish off the mountain. Absolutely great idea.
Good.
Loved it.
So good. Just gonna read through and see if there are.
Yeah, we may have a few more
comments.
Let's have a look. While we're doing that, I'm going to flip through some pictures as well, because we've got some nice ones of the team that I've been flashing up as well. So these are the girls. These are the ones that have are these all the 6 that sort of passed the program?
Yeah, they are indeed. So the Lehara family, they're all fab individuals and such good therapists. I had the really hard task of having lots of massages to help them.
Really? Were you battered?
It was tough. It was a struggle. But yeah, I've done a lot of teaching of qualified physiotherapists in England, and these guys, their practical techniques are incredible. I would happily pay for a massage from any single one of them.
Oh, amazing.
So that's Namche. So that's where you arrive. The beautiful village. So our clinic is right in the heart of that. And a lot of the questions I often get from other trekkers when I go and say hi is, where is the clinic, and do I need to go up or down any steps? And it just happens that it's pretty flat from where you guys stay to the clinic.
Absolutely perfect.
So obviously the important things have been considered there.
I did remember the first time I ever went to Namche, and my the hotel we were in was right at the very top, just as you're about to join the trail to leave. Absolutely gutted. Because
we've had another technical question here. As Lehara is a charity, does it get tax relief from the Nepalese tax system?
Very good question. I'm going to say we are still investigating that at the moment, is probably the best way to answer that question.
Yeah, I think negotiating any sort of Nepalese governmental system is it's less straightforward, very bureaucratic, and not simple. Like in some of the dealings that we've had, I think it largely depends on who you speak to and stuff like that. But yeah, certainly there were some complications. But yeah, awesome, Lisa. I think that's been amazing, and we're going to continue to support Lehara because we do think it's such a valuable and unique and like such a perfect fit, I think, for the region and for what we do. And and it's one of the things I think that I can't wait to get out there and actually try it myself and experience it. It's going to be amazing. But Lisa, thank you so much. And obviously, if the guys want to sort of book in a massage, they just need to you mentioned that there was an app come in, so is that already in place? Or
so via the website, Lehara.org is the website, and there'll be a link very soon via the booking page that you can then book online. So it's all web-based as opposed to app-based. But yeah, that'll be an option. We're also just nice and simple WhatsApp and email as well. In order to sort of pre-book appointments, we can hold appointments back that way. So yeah, nice and easy.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm sure most of you will see who's heading out soon. We'll see Lisa out there as well, which will be really nice.
Awesome. And I encourage everyone to sort of go to the Lehara website. If you're going trekking with us, look out for your pre-arrival email because we've put all the information you need to get the massage on there as well. And reach out to us, reach out to Lehara, and let's support it because it's an absolutely amazing thing. But Lisa, thank you very much. I think we've just about exhausted all of the questions. What an amazing Tuesday tuning. We're going to put this out now, and amazing. And hopefully I'll see you in Namche in a few months.
Thanks both. And I think just everybody at Lehara, we've been blown away with how supportive Evertrek have been, both yourselves in terms of promoting, but also the feedback we've had and the warm welcomes we've had from a lot of Evertrekkers as well that have said, we've heard about you, and you're that massage crew, and it's been really amazing, and the focus that Evertrek put on responsible tourism by supporting an initiative like Lehara is really, really great to see. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, no worries. I'll certainly continue to work as hard as I can, and obviously when Rosie can, she helps. And she wants to snap at me, but we're live. Rosie does 90% of the work, 99% of the work.
Well, it's
Rosie does
Lisa.
all the work. Well, Lisa does the work. You help, and then you shout at me. Yeah, it's a good system here. It's a good system. It's a
well-oiled machine.
Let me tell you, she doesn't need any training in shouting at me. That's really good at it. Yeah, I got shouted at before we went live. As I walked into the room, I heard, "Oh, is that him?" Come on. But anyway, thanks very much, Lisa, for joining us. It's been great. Thank you, everybody, and support Lehara, and we'll see you again.
Awesome.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Thank you. Bye.
Now we click.